We're live?
We are live.
All right. We're pouring some Canadian single malt, some Sanic.
No, you gotta wait.
You gotta wait?
You gotta wait.
Okay.
Hang on. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Oh my god. Okay. Recork. Undo the bottle top.
That'll be part of the bloopers. Welcome to Unpoured Perspectives, your mind on whiskey. Today we are missing Bobby and Joel, who are usually hosts, but we have a guest host in Simon, owner of Scotch and Ponder, where we are shooting on location today. And together we will be interviewing himself, Simon, and Stephen Rich, the new architect of the London Wine and Food Show, now changing to rebranding as Taste X.
That's correct, yeah. London Food and Wine has been a staple for London at Western Fair for 18 years. And for the 2026 show in London, still at Western Fair, Jan 9 and 10, we're rebranding and changing the show to Taste X, the London Food and Drink Experience.
And you are shifting from creating the liquid as a brewmaster and consulting to curating an entire industry with this show. As we're going to get into, one of the main reasons for the new architecture of the show is you're intending to have a 250-foot bar and over 1,000 Canadian products. Tell us about that.
So really, it goes back to the guest experience. So, we've all been to beverage shows, food shows, other experience shows, Canada, the US, all over the world, whatever it happens to be. Usually the experience is pretty similar. There's some high points and low points out there, but usually it's pretty similar. It's a bunch of 10 by 10 booths. It's wineries, breweries, distilleries, cheesemakers, sausage makers, whoever. They buy the booth, they bring their wares, they trade, their goods for tickets, and at the end you trade tickets for some cash. And it's a good marketing opportunity, but from the producer's perspective, it takes a huge amount of work. You rarely make money, you usually just break even, and so it's a marketing exercise. Great. But what happens if you don't sell your products in a specific market? What happens if you're a brewery in Prince Edward County, or a winery in the Okanagan, or a distillery in the East Coast or West Coast or anywhere else? What if you're a producer who doesn't sell their product here in London? Well, it doesn't make sense for you to come. And so what happens for the guest experience? You get the same dozen, 24 wineries, the same dozen brewers, and pretty much you get the same product every year. And that's okay. There's still a lot of people that want that one-on-one experience with a brewer, a distiller, a winemaker, the sales rep, the owners, whoever it is. That's still a lovely experience. But I personally feel like, from the amazing experiences I've had at other shows, that we're moving more away from a in-person education, learn about what my next favorite ABC is going to be. And people are more interested in finding dynamic beverage and food experiences that they haven't been able to explore before. And that's really what we're trying to do. So by building the 250-foot bar, it's going to be one of the biggest bars in Canada. Unbelievable. That's cool in its own right.
Super cool.
By building the bar, it allows Western Fair to manage all the service. So I can call brewer, distiller, winery, cidery, kombucha maker, etc., anywhere in Canada and say, hey, you make excellent things that I want to share with our guests. Don't buy a booth. Don't send me staff. Don't give me marketing materials. Just give me the goods. And we're going to serve them to our 12,000 plus guests.
I mean, 12,000 guests, right? That is huge. That's a huge festival. I had no idea. And I've been to the London Wine and Food Festival before, that it even got remotely close to that kind of number.
3 sessions, Friday evening, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. We max out at just over 4,000 people per from a capacity perspective. And the show pre-COVID was growing every single year. Of course, COVID hurt, and we recovered a little bit from COVID, but not all the way. And so I'm really hoping that this year we are still going to have a lot of vendors. There's still going to be local wineries and breweries and distilleries that set up a booth and will be there to talk to you. But I'm really hoping with this huge bar offering close to 1,000 different beverages from all across Canada that are inclusive of not just beer, wine, and spirits, but kombucha, canned cocktails, RTDs, non-alcoholic beverages, as well as tea and coffee and spirits and cocktails. I think this is going to be one of the most diverse and also largest in terms of selection beverage shows in Canada. And I think that's going to bring people out. I'm really excited.
It's super awesome. So you mentioned, right, the tea and coffee bar. Obviously, you've got a bunch of beers and wines, and we'll get to those. But we're also going to have the Scotch and Ponder cocktail and spirits bar.
That's right.
Tell us about how you've envisioned that experience, pulling it together, but also, what are you hoping the consumer will take away from that?
Yeah, so there's two parts to it, right? There's the cocktail portion and the spirits portion. On the cocktail side, every cocktail is going to feature a different Canadian distillery. And we specifically curated the list to have cocktails that showcase the spirit, right? It's about showing what the distillery can do. And so we've got a daiquiri, right? Mostly all classic cocktails. We've got a daiquiri that showcases Carroll's Distillery out in New Brunswick. We've got a Negroni that showcases Willie Ball Distillery, just outside of where we're located here in Ayr, Ontario. Dylan sent us a specific recipe that they wanted us to showcase that really shows what their rye can do in a twist on a whiskey sour. And so that's on the cocktail side, really showcasing the spirit and giving you a nice list of different cocktails to choose from. On the spirit side, we've got coast to coast. We've got spirits from BC. We've got some from New Brunswick, and everything in between. And so, again, a good selection of whiskeys, rums, gins, and so we've really put a list together. Over 100 spirits we're going to have that you can really explore the different flavors of Canada. So I'm happy with what we've managed to put together there.
That sounds super exciting.
Yes.
I can't wait. What's going to be the one thing that you're most excited for people to try?
On the cocktail side, I gotta think about that one. What am I most excited for people to try?
What do you think you're going to make the most of?
Espresso martinis, probably.
Espresso martini. What's going in the espresso martini?
So I bought a bunch of Ontario vodkas. I was like, okay, let me find a vodka that actually holds its weight. That's better than Grey Goose, right? Because that's what we typically use out here. And I found one made in Toronto by Mailroom.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you know what? This is really good vodka. I did an espresso martini with it, and it was one of the best. It's probably the best espresso martini I've ever had.
Sweet.
And so that's one that, like, especially for that Saturday afternoon session, people are going to want that espresso martini. We've got one that's really cool is like, okay, what do I do for my tequila drinks, right? There's not really much tequila being made in Canada, but Spirits for Us has an agave spirit. And so I kind of played around with that. I tried to do a margarita, but it's such an aged spirit with it being in barrels for almost 2 years that it didn't, like, as soon as you threw some citrus in there, I couldn't really make the margarita work. But I made a Oaxacan Old Fashioned instead.
Oh, wow.
With it. And that came out perfectly with a little bit of honey syrup and just a touch of tiki bitters. I thought that. So I threw that one on the menu so that we can have one agave-based cocktail on there. So that's what I'm looking forward to on the cocktail side. The cocktail Dylan sent us too that has pear bitters in it, and it has a fig puree as part of the mix. That's a really fun cocktail that they wanted us to showcase. On the spirit side, We've got two brewers that's going to be there. That's my favorite distillery in Canada, and some of the distilleries in BC too. I'm excited for people to discover those.
That's really awesome, and I'm glad you got Spirits Pass in there.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've got. You want to pour this now?
Yeah, actually, yes. I mean, it's been on the table.
It's been looking at us.
Let's pour something.
So this one will be at the show. It's the Sanic Canadian Single Malt.
So this one is one that came to us sort of via a third party. It is actually Macaloni's, but because we didn't purchase it from Macaloni's, we haven't put Macaloni's on the label. But this is really a beautiful, sort of very interesting spirit. It's one that I don't think is widely... there's not a lot of tropical, very light Canadian whiskey, right? A lot of Canadian whiskey, because of the age of the distilleries, they take the heart of hearts cut and they really try to add some barrel influence as quickly as possible to produce a quality product. Whereas this is something that, with a Moscatel barrel, has really got something that is really light in flavor. Quite sweet as well with that Moscatel. My favorite note that I get out of this is ginger ale.
Yeah, I can smell the ginger ale. Cheers, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, you gave me some of this to try before it got barreled when you were still kind of playing around with how if you're gonna cut it down, what proof are you gonna serve it at and everything. And what jumps out, I get your ginger ale, that's really fun, but the note that really jumps out to me that I love is lychee.
Oh, wow,
It
yeah.
has like a beautiful little
yes.
lychee undertone, which is something I associate with very few distilleries. There's, what's the one in Scotland? What's the distillery I'm thinking of?
I don't know. When you
Yeah.
think of it, you'll shout it out.
Well,
And you said lychee, and like to me, I get that like that bright, vibrant tropical. Like my mind wanted to go papaya, but you're right. It's more tangy than that. That's nice, but like the spice is there, a bit of honey is there, the ginger is there.
it's wonderful.
For me, I think I always envisioned that tanginess as peaches, but lychee might be more accurate. Or maybe at least tonight. Tonight it feels more lychee than
You're
than
getting
peaches.
it.
Your palate will change from night to night.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I like that you've placed this bottle in prime real estate for the camera here.
It's that time of the day.
So one thing that we started talking about the Scotch and Ponder Spirits and Cocktail Bar, but one thing I think that's important to point out is when we were conceiving of the big bar, it was kind of obvious to me and the team at the get-go that we can handle pouring people beers and wines and ciders and RTDs and non-alcoholic stuff pretty easily. Not crazy. But when it comes to spirits and cocktails, it just felt like there was something about it that required an additional level of expertise and passion. So like our team that will be pouring the beers, the wines, the etc., like these are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing. They're capable of pouring spirits and cocktails, but it didn't feel right. So we knew from the get-go that we needed to find a partner that not only could handle it from experience and craftsmanship perspective, but was also passionate about it. And so Scotch and Ponder were the first people that we reached out to. I was super excited that they decided to work with us. Thank you very much. Hell yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so we've let Scotch and Ponder and Kevin manage the entire selection. And so all the spirits and all the cocktails are crafted by these gentlemen and their team. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be super exciting. So when people come to get the cocktail, they're going to get it right from the experts. I also got to say, too, they're not here today, but we're doing the same thing on the other side at the Locomotive Coffee and Tea Bar. So Locomotive Espresso is an amazing cafe in London, 2 locations, one in Old North, one in Old South. And these guys are passionate about coffee and tea. And they're going to be doing pour overs, they're going to be doing French presses, they're going to be doing espresso beverages. And again, sure, we could probably have figured out a way to do coffee and tea, but the locomotive team are passionate, they're experts, they understand the service. So we're going to capstone this bar. We're going to bookend the bar. At the main entry side, it's going to be Locomotive Espresso Coffee and Tea Bar. And then on the party end, near the stage, it's going to be Scotch and Ponder Spirits and Cocktail Bar.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Party at Scotch and Ponder.
Yeah.
I got like when we did the marketing thing and I was doing some cocktails and we had Locomotive doing pour overs. That was the best pour over I've ever had in my life, hands down. So I'm excited to try more of Locomotive, what they're going to put together. The only thing I'm like upset about from doing the cocktail station is I want to be out there at the show trying all, like, you know, you're putting this amazing beer selection together. I want to be walking the show, so I'm hoping there's a little section that's not so busy so I can free myself. But
It's a funny dichotomy. When you're working the event, it's busy, it's crazy. There's a lot of stuff to enjoy, a lot of stuff to keep thinking about, people to continue to make happy. But yeah, you're looking at all this. You want to try all of this. There will be moments.
Yes.
There will be moments. Yeah.
So let's continue with the questioning here.
Yeah.
Who did you have in mind when you were designing the new format for the show?
That's a good question. So I've been to a lot of different beverage shows. Most of them have been beer and spirits. You know, one of my favorite spirit shows a long time ago was always Spirit of Toronto at Roy Thompson Hall. It was the perfect time of life. I was in late university. The show was brand new. It attracted distillers and importers that were showcasing dynamic and unique brands. And that was one of the first times where I went to a show and got to taste and try things that weren't regularly available in my market. And that was an unbelievable experience. Not only that, the show, of course, is beautiful. The food was always lovely. The jazz bands, the cigar pairings, they executed that show really well. And it always weighed on me that was a really well done show. Another show that I kept thinking about was Mondial de la Bière in Montreal. Mondial is really probably the main inspiration because Mondial has vendors, but then they also have specific booths, specific bars that are run by the Mondial organization. And so I don't remember the year, but 15, 20 years ago, me and a couple friends went to Mondial, and of course we were excited to see all the Quebec producers, but Quebec's beer culture is largely built on Belgian beer culture. Not exclusively, of course, Quebec has their own independent Quebecois beer culture, but a lot of it stems from Belgian beer culture. And so, to our surprise and glee, they had a Belgian beer bar where they had countless, dozens, maybe 100 Belgian beers imported, some of which I'd never seen, some of which I'd only seen in bottles at this far off, pub somewhere in the States. And so that was the first time when I saw an organization running their own bars, enabling them to bring in anything. The other festival that I never stop thinking about is the Michigan Craft Brewers Guild Summer Festival. This festival is every summer in Ypsilanti, Michigan. It's run by the Brewers Guild in Michigan, and there's always over 1,000 beers. And it's crazy. It's in a beautiful park, and they just do all the things well. There'll be a queue of thousands of people in line by the time the show opens. IDs will be checked in advance, security will be done in advance, ticketing will be done in advance, and boom, the whole line is in no time.
nice.
The glassware is perfect. The experience is perfect. The beverage selection is crazy. The program is easy to understand. Just a really well executed event that pushes home that idea of the excitement of tasting things, an overwhelming amount of things that for sure you've never had all of them. So I love those ideas. And when Western Fare and I originally started talking about how do we modernize the show, how do we make it more dynamic and guest friendly, it was all about selection. And so how do we do that? Let's make our own bars. Let's get a million things, and let's make sure it's beautiful. Just like Michigan Craft Brewers Guild Summer Festival, just like Mondial, just like Spirit.
So, just to maybe summarize a little bit, or maybe just restate it, the fundamental shift in philosophy is about extending things for the regular consumer beyond your current, like the region you live in, right? So now they can try all of these other things as well as have that perfect experience.
There will still be local breweries, local wineries with their staff there talking to you, so you can have that one-on-one local experience with a brand that you love and trust. But there's also going to be products from almost every province in Canada, some of which may be available, but the majority of which have never set foot in Ontario before. Maybe you're from BC or from Quebec or from the East Coast, or you've just traveled to Alberta and remember having this beer or this wine or this cider or whatever. Or maybe it's just a brand new experience for you. So as a consumer walking in, you're no longer just looking at the same 10 wineries and 10 breweries that you saw last year. Now you're going to look at this list, and for better or for worse, you're not going to know where to start. So that's I think what it's all about, is transitioning more from a try before you buy to a just try and try again. There's going to be so many different things. Our goal really was every province in Canada. And we're real close. And it's actually a funny story. So I was like, okay, well, we're not going to get wine from the Yukon territories. We're not going to get wine from the Northwest territories. But there are breweries.
That's right.
Up there.
And distilleries.
So I reached out to the breweries, so excited. I was like, yes, Northwest territories. There's a brewery. We're going to get their beer. I hadn't thought about this. They emailed me back and they said, we'd love to, but we're too late.
Oh.
It's too cold. The beer will freeze
Oh, no.
at the time it makes it. I was like, ah! So I immediately looked up, what's the temperature in Yellowknife? Oh, -13.
Yeah.
Dang. So next year,
Yes.
I will call earlier and we'll get beers that can survive, that will get to us in good condition and will still be good 6 months, 8 months later. Like we'll get some imperial stouts, or we'll get some porters, some things that don't need to be served fresh. So we're at almost every province in 2026.
I never would have thought about that.
Yeah, that logistics.
It's really funny. Now I know.
Yeah.
So, we're still we're talking about the 250-foot bar. There is some stuff that I want to get to after this, because there's more than just the bar. But the last question that I just want to talk about regarding this massive 250-foot bar, obviously you've stated at the one end, we've got the spirits and cocktail bar, and at the other end, we've got the coffee and tea bar, and in between, we've got all of the other things. Okay, so given this large physical footprint, are you zoning those products by region, by type, flavor profile? What is the geography of the bar?
This is a really good question. And frankly, it was one of the hardest things to figure out. How do we design the orientation? How do we A to Z this, 1 to 1,000 this? What's best for the user experience? In the end, what we decided to do was products will be listed from 1 to 1,000. And they'll be A to Z based on producer first and then brand. And so what'll happen is at A bar, B bar, C bar, D bar, all the bars are in 8-foot sections. And so each bar will have about 50 different products. And at each bar, you'll get beer, wine, cider, seltzers, kombuchas, etc. So our first thought was we should mingle this together. Let's do all the beers on one side, all the wines on the other side, ciders on this side, kombuchas on that side, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what if two people walk up to the bar and one of them wants wine and one of them wants beer? Okay, well, then one of them gets nothing and then they move to the other side and the other gets nothing.
Yeah.
Or one of them gets something that they don't really want. Or so this way, you're practically guaranteed to have something, a product type, every product type, relatively available at each bar. The other reason I thought A to Z makes the most sense is because this is like an overwhelming amount of products. I am a beer geek. I am a brewer. I know a lot of the brands in Michigan. When I look at the Michigan Craft Brewers Guild Summer Festival and I look at 1,000 products, knowing what I know, I am overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so the average consumer, even the expert consumer, coming to the show, seeing 1,000 different beers, wines, ciders, kombuchas, RTDs, etc., like, man, how do we possibly simplify this? And so I feel like A to Z is the easiest. So when you approach the bars, all the bars will have a big chalkboard over top of them that's elevated 8 feet in the air so everyone can see them even when you're in line. It'll tell you producer, brand, style, ABV, and how many tickets it costs. And it's also going to have a little icon denoting whether it's beer, wine, seltzer, kombucha, cider, etc. It'll also denote whether it's gluten-free or if it's organic or if it's an award-winning product as well.
Hadn't even considered those complications.
You know, we're trying our hardest to make sure that the guest experience is transparent. That way, you know, in the past, the show was called the Wine and Food Show, which was not really all-encompassing of everything that was there. There was always some beer, and there were always some other products. So we're calling it Taste X, the London Food and Drink Experience, food and drink experience, because we want to showcase that we're bringing in more than just wine and more than just beer. And because of that, I wanted to be as transparent as possible so that Joe, Sally, Frank, anyone coming in, they can walk in knowing that they're gluten intolerant and there's still going to be a ton of things for them to enjoy and no risk that they're going to pick the wrong thing. Or maybe someone that really enjoys drinking organic products. The other thing I was thinking about doing was maybe we could write how many kilometers away from the bar that producer is. That is still on the table, but there's a lot of things to put on the menu. So
that would be super cool.
Right? Like, okay, this one's 3 kilometers away. This one's 8,000 kilometers away.
Right.
Like, that would be cool, but we'll see how much we can fit. So yeah, it's A to Z, with the exception of all the coffee and tea will be at the top, and all the spirits and cocktails will be at the bottom. Everything else will be A to Z.
Around the loop. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. So you were talking about food and drink, right? So let's make the natural, next sort of set of questions in that direction. As you enter, right? Let's go around the room, right? Like, what other things can our visitors expect? Can your visitors expect?
Our visitors.
Our visitors.
It's going to be so exciting because the Food and Wine Show always did a great job with food. We've always had local producers, cheesemakers, butchers. We always get a couple of the local guys doing cured meats, and there will be restaurants, and so all of that is going to be typical, right? You'll be able to go get sliders and tacos and cheese samples and pepperettes and stuff like that. All of that stuff is amazing. But this year, we've added more local independent restaurants, which we're really excited about. We want to grow that more than anything else. I want more small mom and pop shop restaurants enjoying the festival and our guests supporting them and learning about them. But we're also partnering with Londonlicious this year. So we're going to have an
wow.
entire Londonlicious section that's going to showcase some of the restaurants that participate in Londonlicious, which happens to be a couple weeks after.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
cool.
perfect timing. People at the show get to come and get an early taste of what Londonlicious has to offer. And we've also, for the first time, built a bit of a, call it a concours, a little area that's going to exclusively feature vendors and producers that are already at the Western Fair Farmers Market. So some of the vendors who you know and love who have existing booths at the farmers market, they'll be there also specifically. So you'll be able to go get a lot of different food experiences at TasteX this year. And you're going to be able to pair it with 1,000 different beverages. But then also, again, kind of like always, but taking it up a notch this year, we still have the culinary stage. And so at the culinary stage, there's going to be food, cooking, and beverage demonstrations the entire time. So we're going to have a few demonstrations that involve the locomotive team, a few demonstrations that involve Master Sommelier John Zabo, who is joining us and doing all the wine selections. And we still need to talk about a spirits demonstration or a cocktail demonstration. So there's a lot of different ways to enjoy not just the beverage, not just the food, but the experience that, you know, the 2 + 2 = 5 that food and beverage together can give you. Super exciting.
That's awesome. So you mentioned cooking stage, but there is also a stage, right, for entertainment and things. All right, can you give us a little hint of what's going to be happening?
Yeah, we've got at the south end, is it east or south? At the back end of the room, right on the other side of the Scotch and Ponder Spirits and Cocktail Bar, we've got the main stage where there's going to be music the entire time.
The party area.
We've got 2 unbelievable bands coming. One of the bands is doing all 90s hip hop.
I love these
It's
folks.
going to be amazing. And the other band is doing like jam rock, yacht rock. So it's just going to be
I won't even
fun.
pretend to know what that is.
Both think of the fun that you have with 90s hip hop and apply it to like a garden party on a yacht.
I'll take one of those.
Yeah.
That sounds like an oxymoron if I've ever heard one.
It's pretty awesome. So both of the bands are going to be rocking, and I think there might be a couple other smaller things happening on the main stage, but certainly it's going to be a time. Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Looking forward to it. January 9th and 10th. Just to state that again.
3 sessions, Friday evening, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening.
Okay, so if this new type of show, new structure, new architecture of the show is successful, right? When we're hoping it's successful, it sounds incredible. Do you see this as the new blueprint moving forward? And, you know, is it going to be similar next year? Is it going to change each year?
We've got a few ideas. One thing that we're going to work on executing immediately is a dinner series. So we're going to have TasteX, the dinner series. And this is going to be smaller. It's going to be more intimate, but it's going to share the same values as TasteX, the food and drink experience. The dinner series will be, it's going to start off with 4 dinners. Each of them are going to be themed, and each of them are going to showcase food and beverage pairings that are not typical or not usual to experience. And so they're going to include beer, wine, spirits, cocktails, hopefully cigars, and other delicious things. And we're going to host those right on Western Fair's campus. And if you're not familiar with the campus, it's a huge campus with lots of different opportunities to showcase the hospitality opportunities that we have at Western Fair. So there's going to be some really cool ones. Look for the announcement for sure close to the show. So that's kind of an aside to the show. But then for the show for 27, we want to essentially do the same thing. Take what we've done, learn from what worked, learn from what didn't work, and execute at a higher level for 27. But the other thing we'll do is there's two things that I'm super excited about. The first is we're going to introduce a guest country. And so whether we do it at the main bar or we do it at a separate bar, that's to be determined. But every successive year, we'd like to have 1,000 Canadian beverages and 100 beverages from Italy, 100 from the UK, 100 from the US, 100 from Germany, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
each year, one country. So 27 might be Italy, 28 might be Ireland, 29 might be...
Exactly. So we'll have Italian beers, wines, spirits, cocktails, kombuchas. We'll try to do some Italian style coffee, like et cetera, et cetera. So I think introducing a different country every year will keep the show dynamic and interesting. That way guests can come every single year, and not only can they get to the next, 10 or 20 beverages from the 1,000 that they didn't get to try, but they're going to get a new country every single year. The other thing, there's a few other ideas that we've been toying with. We've talked about, we have all this room in the front that doesn't really get utilized. It's kind of when you walk in to the J Arts Expo Center, right as you're like giving your tickets and doing, coat check because it's in the middle of the winter, there's an area of space that's not fully utilized. Why don't we turn that into a dive bar?
There you go.
I think that would be really cool if we could build a drop ceiling with old smoke stained tiles, build a cool bar, serve Labatt Cinquante, just fitty in bottles with some old pinball machines. I think a dive bar experience or something like that. I think a unique bar experience would be cool, whether it's a dive bar or English pub or Belgian beer bar or Italian wine garden. Something like that would be cool. We haven't got all the way there yet, but the idea is every year we have to keep being dynamic so that everyone wants to come back and more people want to show up.
God, sounds super cool.
I like the dive bar, right?
Yeah. And, sounds like you've got a lot of great ideas and a lot of ways to keep things fresh. And I think you should have like a punch card, like something for someone to say that they've done every year, every new experience,
treasure hunt.
Something that they can collect.
You know what they do at Oktoberfest? It's mostly for the newbies, but every year there's like a clothespin. And the clothespin has a little emblem on it. And so people collect them and they put them here. So if you've got 12 on them, it's...
You collect the
12.
countries?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's I hadn't thought about that, but a little keepsake. Actually, there will be a keepsake, which is a change for the show this year as well. So in previous years, there's been a little, kind of generic tasting glass that you use and you give back at the end of the show. For this year, the glass is going to be a takeaway glass. So it's yours to keep, yours to enjoy, and that's your keepsake as well. But we're actually going to have 3 different glasses. Because we're going to have wine and beer, spirits and cocktails and kombuchas and all these things. And so everyone will only get 1 glass. But when you walk in, you'll be greeted with a display of all the glasses. And you'll get to choose which you want. One of them is a stemless wine glass. Appropriate, of course, for wine, but also reasonable and appropriate for spirits and cocktails and beers and all the things. Another glass will be more like a mini pint glass. So, of course, appropriate for the beers, but reasonable for the spirits and the wines and the ciders, etc. And then the last one will be a snifter style glass. So, perfect for the spirits and cocktails, but also, frankly, I think it's the perfect glass. So, it's great for everything. So, people will get that takeaway. It'll say Taste X and the year and all the things, and it'll be great. And I really think it'll elevate the guest experience.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun. One person might have the snifter and the other person might have the stemless wine, and they can fight over which one they think is better. It's all for the fun.
Super cool. I mean, I know I definitely collect glasses. So
Too many.
But that's for sure. So, I mean, we've been going for a while here. Let's ask, is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I do want to
Either
mention.
of you.
I do want to mention the bars themselves are going to be pretty amazing. I think when people, especially when other wineries, breweries, distilleries, producers walk in and see these bars, they're going to want them. So we have had these bars custom fabricated by my good friend Frank Boros. Frank used to live in London. He's moved to Northern Ontario now, where he's got room for a ranch and his new shop. But Fortune Fabricated is his shop, and Frank's a blacksmith. Frank's an event guy. Frank has hauled kegs, worked the events, fixed everything, built everything, and he's the size of a fridge. Frank is just your guy, and he loves the beers, the wines, and spirits. He gets it.
Sounds like an ace of all trades.
Man, he's exactly the guy that you want to be designing not just a bar that looks beautiful, because he's got an eye for it and hands for it, but he's worked the events, he's done the thing, so he understands the functionality of it. So he is building these beautiful 8-foot bars out of steel and wood. They're all handcrafted. They're beautiful. On the back side, on the operator side, on the bar side, some of them have built-in ice chests. Some of them have glass rinsers. They all have a little keyhole so you can send power through to a POS system if you have electronics up there. Some of them have a clip-on for bar rail if you're making lots of cocktails. Like, both the beverages are local Canadian, and this big, beautiful 250-foot bar that we're building, also local.
That's awesome.
Forged and fabricated. Frank has done an amazing job. People are going to love these things.
Is there anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, like what I'm excited for the show and for the list that we've put together too on the spirits side, whenever I go to these types of shows, especially if it's in a region that I'm familiar with the local wineries and breweries, you know, for someone like me, like I don't have anything very exciting to sample, but at the show here, you're gonna have from across the country, you're gonna have things for experts, for people that want an introduction to different kinds of beers and spirits, and so I'm really excited about the selection that we've managed to put together for the show, and I'm excited that we're doing something this year that's not just local breweries. It's really for people that want to try something new and get out of their comfort zones. Whether they're an expert or they're just trying to learn something new. So I'm excited about that. And I remembered the distillery that this reminds me of in Scotland with that lychee note and that tropicalness. It's Tormore.
Yes.
If you've ever had 20-year-old Tormores,
I love Tormore.
This is like, if you gave this to me blind, I feel like that's where I would go.
Oh man, that is an incredible compliment.
It's a wonderful whiskey.
I absolutely love Tormore.
Yeah.
One thing that I'll say back to the show, one of my hopes for the show, if you think about what we're doing, we've got spirit geeks and experts curating spirits and cocktails. We have coffee and tea professionals and geeks curating coffee and tea. Yeah. We have now 17-year plus brewmaster, beer geek, picking my favorite breweries from all across Canada and my favorite beers from those breweries. And then I'm working with some of them to help me select the best cideries and the best canned cocktails, etc. And we're working with Canada's first master sommelier, John Sabo, to choose award-winning wines from across Canada. So the point is, it kind of felt like with the previous show, it was perfect for people that generically wanted to enjoy themselves. But because of the volume of selection, the quality of the selection, you don't have to come if you only like all the things. If you only want to enjoy spirits, the ticket is worth it.
That's right.
If you only want to come for coffee, the ticket is worth it. If you only want to come for wine or only for cider or only there's so many things. The variety is so wide and the quality is so high that you could, for the money to get into the show and the tickets, you could exclusively drink one style of thing and never see all of them and have such a good time. So I hope that beer geeks come. I hope that whiskey geeks come. I hope that wine geeks come. I hope the geeks show up because there's great whiskey festivals, obviously. There's great beer festivals, great wine. They're all awesome. But I hope whiskey geeks come and drink, 80% whiskey, and then 20% I hope they go out and try some beers and some wines. And the same thing with everyone else. I really think there's an opportunity for people, maybe unlike past years, to just focus on what they want and not have to worry about, am I getting my money's worth? Because you're going to get your money's worth.
It's very true, right? Like a lot of the other whiskey shows, right, that I happen to go through for the rest of the year, I mean, they are charging a minimum of $160 and they go up to $400.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, even actually more than that for depending on if it's a 1 or 2 day thing. But ultimately, for $35, you have access to 100 spirits.
That alone.
Yeah.
Just the spirits.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. I don't mean to say just the spirits. For the money in, you get all the things.
No, yes,
but...
you get all the things. but obviously, as a spirit enthusiast, right? For me, like, just mind blown, price and value. Wow.
I'm excited. I think it's gonna be good. We got a good crew. We got great people managing the procurement, the selection, and all of it. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I think, when we announced it, we got some pushback from some people that were used to it, right? We announced at first was London Food and Wine is turning to TasteX, the London Food and Drink Experience. And regulars of the show on socials, some were saying, what happened? Where's all my wine going? I don't care about more beer. This was supposed to be a wine show. Okay, I get it. But what they don't know is we're going to have 20 times as much wine as we've ever
It's a better wine show than it ever
Exactly.
was.
So
it's very true.
Drink doesn't mean less wine. It means more of everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be great.
That is awesome. Okay, so on Unpoured Perspectives, one of the cool things that we have is we do have a segment where, answer one, leave one. Right? So each time we have a guest, the guest has to answer a question from the previous guest and then has to think of a question to leave for the next guest.
I like that.
So our last podcast was with Gretzky, with the guys from Gretzky, Mark Evangelista and Jason Roller. And the question that they left you guys, and I'm going to get both of you to answer it.
All right.
Is if you could drink one whiskey brand for the rest of your life, which would it be and why?
All right. It has to be whiskey. I can only pick one.
Is it a brand or a distiller?
It's a brand.
If you gave me like a top 5, that wouldn't be so hard. But if you're making me pick one, that's tough.
In whiskey, brands mostly account for a distiller.
Yeah.
No cheating in terms of going with an independent bottler, because that would be my answer. That would be my answer.
You're
But then
thinking outside
we're going to
the box.
define that as cheating for this answer.
Yeah, you're thinking outside the box. So for me, the thing is, whenever you're having whiskey, so I've got bourbon. I love my bourbon. I love my smoky scotch. I also love Cavalan. So Cavalan is up there for sure. Lafroig is up there for sure for my smoky scotch. I could drink Lafroig all day, but then I got to give up bourbon. So it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, you got to make a decision here.
I'm gonna go with Lafroig. That's what I love drinking. If I had to pick, that's where I would go.
Okay.
That is so rough. I mean, on the Isla side, Lefroy probably would be my brand too, but I don't think I could give it to Isla as the only brand.
It's tough,
It's
but if
real
you
tough.
force me, that's where I gotta go.
You know, part of me would do something like, um, Ben Romack has so many different flavors and
Great
and
choice.
bottlings and barrel finishes. So you get a lot of variety, and that would be fun over the years. But I'm thinking too functional. I think because it's one of the ones that changed my brain in my early development and early evolution of whiskey love, I would have a hard time picking anyone but Glendronach. Glendronach was just the brand, the flavors that made me fall in love with sherry. And so I'm not getting as much variety with Glendronach, but I think I couldn't go without Glendronach.
So, while you guys were talking, I mean, I don't normally answer these questions well, but this time I'm going to. While you guys were talking, I was thinking this too as well. If I went with an Isla, I think I would probably go with Bunnahabhain, mostly because you get both the peated and the unpeated.
Or Brooklady would be another one.
Yeah, I think.
Bloodie's lineup is so good.
Because you
That's
have that
true.
kind of
That's true.
unheated all
That's
the way
true.
to
Yeah. So
super
from an
heated.
Isla perspective, Brooklady. Ben Romack, I think would be my second choice,
That's a great choice.
but Springbank would have to be my first choice.
Springbank.
Right? I mean, if you have to choose a distiller, right, and not a brand, because
yeah.
Springbank has the three brands, which I am in love with all three. So I think that is maybe a bit of a tater answer, but
Great choice. No,
yeah.
That's a good one.
my wallet couldn't handle
I mean,
Springbank
So
forever.
so now, while you guys were still thinking about your question, right? I want you to do a Canadian version of that question.
That's a good call.
That's easy for me. If we're sticking to Canadian, I mean, there's a number of great Canadian distilleries that I love, but if I gotta pick one, it's Two Brewers. Easy.
I think I probably also have to say Two Brewers. I don't have the range of experience with Canadian spirits that you guys do. I like a lot of the stuff that's made like right around southwestern Ontario. But one of my good buddies, his brother-in-law lived near the distillery and was shipping us Two Brewers stuff on the reg. And so I got to taste a lot of it and I'm blown away. So Two
Yeah.
Brewers.
Two Brewers would be up there for me. I mean, obviously you have Sons of Vancouver, Macaroni's, even Gretzky. Some of their new stuff and some of the stuff that's coming out is just going to be top notch.
Yeah.
I think though, because of the range of spirits, if they were to continue the way they're going now, I would have to go with Macaroni's. Because, they're doing the peated, they're doing the non-peated, right? They've got triple distilled, they've got, double distilled, they've got like just so many SKUs, right? That for me, I think if it had to be for the rest of my life, I would have to go with Macaroni's.
Let's just get one thing clear. May this never come to pass.
Yeah. It's kind of an evil question. So now it's your turn to be as evil to the next guest.
Right.
And we don't know who the next guest is going to be.
have no
so
idea.
It could be a distiller, could be a bar, could be anyone.
Yeah, and the question that you create doesn't matter. If we have to change it slightly, we'll alter it, but or we'll just make that person, jump in a set of shoes that they're not used to.
I know my question. Because I've had to wrangle this question myself before, and we got to do something very similar to this recently. So my question is, if you had, the budget doesn't matter. You have to pay for this, and you can afford it. And you get to plan one final trip with 5 of your best buds. And you get to go somewhere to enjoy beverages. Where are you going, and what's the itinerary? So I asked the question because me and a bunch
You're
of
trying
friends,
to figure that.
me and a bunch of friends for our 40th
Trying to
birthdays,
get some insights. Yeah.
we went to Scotland for a bunch of 40th birthdays, and we always knew the trip was going to be it was going to be a whiskey trip. So you can go on a lot of different whiskey trips. but we specifically picked Isla because it's not going to be our last one. But we were like, we want to go to Scotland. We want Scotch. We want like an unadulterated, raw whiskey experience. And like you can randomly go to Scotland if you're in Edinburgh or somewhere else, and you can randomly pop into a distillery. But no one's randomly going to Isla.
Yeah.
You're on Isla purposefully. So we went to Isla. We did Isla. It was ridiculous. It was the best. Did every distillery on Isla. Saw a lot of sheep.
I bet. And yaks.
Yeah. The sounds at night were hilarious. The sheep concerto by the fireside with a cigar and a whiskey was the best.
Hilarious.
But yeah, I like the idea of like planning your dream. Where would your dream trip be?
Have to be there's a lot of trips that I'm planning. I want to go to Oaxaca and do a mezcal trip. That's a big one. That's one on top of my list. I get to spend a weekend in Belgium in a couple weeks, so I'm planning that one out right now. But I mean, like, if I have to plan the last one, it has to be Scotland. Yeah.
Do you have a question yourself that would be different?
Can I piggyback? We don't want to burden people with too many questions. That's a great one.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I don't know about my trip. I think I do plan on going to Scotland for my 50th. I was planning on going
to Scotland for your 50th.
I was planning on going for my 40th, but it was mid-COVID, so that just didn't happen. I think the Mexico one would be awesome as well. I would also do Italy from a wine perspective. And there's so many good places. Italy, I want to go to Italy regardless, even without the wine, so that's just a good match for me as well.
One I've done that was awesome is Champagne. Like,
I've heard
going through the caves in Champagne and learning more about how that's made. That was fun.
In a similar vein, I'll throw this shoe in the hat is like, if you have the opportunity to go to Oktoberfest, go to Oktoberfest. It is
Germany.
It's so much in Munich, at the Theresienwiesen, it's so much more than just a spectacle. It is a spectacle. It's an unbelievable spectacle, but it's indescribable how genuine, how real, how wild it is. The beer, the food, and the scene around Munich and in Bavaria. I mean, biased, obviously, but go.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, so now that's done. We're coming to the end. Where can we find you guys?
We're here in Ingersoll, Ontario. You can find us. Come by the bar anytime. Social medias at Scotch Ponder, both on Facebook and Instagram.
And at scotchandponder.com.
Yeah, scotchandponder.com. You can see our menu there. You can see events that we've got coming up. We do tastings once or twice a month with beer, wine, spirits. So, yeah.
Awesome. And yourself?
I'm at Definition Ale on Instagram. I think that's my last social media that's still alive. But I'm also definitionale.com and Stephen Rich on LinkedIn. STEPHEN. Yeah, that's me.
And London Taste Experience. Let's talk about that.
TasteX London Food and Drink Experience is tastewfd.com. You can either go directly to it. You can find it by typing in TasteX, or even if you type in the London Food and Wine Show, you can find it. It's also on Western Affairs website. It's pretty easy to find.
And I'll put up all the socials on the video feed so everyone can find you guys. Thank you very much. This has been Unpoured Perspectives, Your Mind on Whiskey, with Simon and Stephen. Hope to see everyone at the show January 9th and 10th.
Here.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Simon.
That one's still, yeah.
I'm praying that I don't go and look at the other side of this.
Just like.
Still recording.
All right.